Hello, today I just wanted to give some examples of negative margins and how they play in the horizontal formatting normal flow. Um, the rule is that the total 7 horizontal properties, which is margin left, padding left, border left, then width, padding right, border right, and margin right, um, should always equal to parent width. So let's take a look at the first scenario where we have negative margin with no borders. Okay, so let's see here. So I already have the code. Just gonna copy and paste. So we have a parent div which I centered, gave it some width, sent it on the page, some borders, and let me remove this. So with this one, so what we have here is this parent div. It has margin left 10 pixel, outer width, margin right negative 40 pixel. So and I just gave it some background color. And what happens here is the width outer gets converted by the browser into width necessary to match the width of the P to equal the width of containing block. In this case, containing block is div. So the calculation of this is would be this one. So I'm just gonna show you guys here. So what we have is 10 pixels margin left plus 0 border plus 0 padding plus 330 pixel width, 0 padding right, 0 border right, and then minus 400 minus 40 pixels of negative margin, so which equals to 300 pixel, which equals to width of our div. If let me go to the browser, and if we inspect this, we can see, let me click on that P. So this is our styles that we gave, the width of outer. When we go to computed value, we can see, let me move it somewhere here. The computed value is width 330 pixels. Oops. See here. Okay, so in our styles we have width outer and then computed value width 330 pixels, which is this equation. So what happens here is the P gets pushed, the effect that it gets pushed to the right, so out of the container box div. So this is called overflow, and we can check if we go to the spec for this. I already have it bookmarked, this portion. It's a bit outdated, but I think it still holds true for this. So it's called overflow. What it says here, in certain cases, a box may overflow, meaning its content lies partly or entirely outside of the box. So, and here it gives us the scenarios when it can happen. So, this one, a descendant box has negative margins, causing it to be positioned partly outside the box. We can also check if this is an overflow or not, just for the out of curiosity. What we can do overflow on the parent. Say give it overflow hidden, and when we go back to our example, you see it cuts the sticking part, so it just hides the overflow. Okay, so that's the first scenario. So what we have next is the scenario when the with the negative margins and borders. So what happens? Let's see what happens with borders. Just gonna remove this overflow just to show what happens with when the borders are in the equation. Okay, it's the same here. We have margin left 10 pixel, width outer, margin right 400 pixels negative, and then we gave it the border to p of 2 pixels. Okay, so let's see here. In this scenario, let's see, just first let me go to the browser. Okay, this is with the border. So same, it gets pushed by negative margin to the right, and the equation here would be this, because the width of the OP should match the width of the containing div. So the way it gets calculated is 10 pixel and then 2 pixel border, then 0 padding, then it's gonna be 326 pixel, um, 0 padding, and then 2 pixel border, which in total it comes to 300 pixels to match the width of the containing div. And when we go to our example and inspect it, let me just move it a little. Oops. So we inspect our P, and we see here that the our width, which was auto in the declared styles, gets converted by the browser into a width of 326. Okay, so styles again, auto width, computed value is 326. So equation 326. So when you add up these values and then you minus the negative margin, we come to total of 300 pixels, which is the width of our containing div, 300 pixels. Okay, so Next scenario is when the auto margin evaluates to negative value. It's also possible. So let's take a look at this example. I already have a code here. I'm just gonna copy and paste. Let's see. Okay, what happens here is we have an auto margin. So auto margin, which is in this scenario margin, it's a right margin. We give it the out value of auto. Width 400 pixels and margin left 10 pixels. So as you can see, this is already more than 300 pixels. It's a width is more than the p is more than the width of containing div. So how it gets calculated here? What happens with the margin right? Margin right auto it becomes negative margin. So let's see what happens here. Just gonna go to inspect. Click on this. Okay, so yeah, this is our declared width, 400 pixels. Oops, sorry. Let me see. Oh, yeah, this is our declared width, 400 pixels. And then margin right, we gave it auto. But when we go to compute it, so margin right, it becomes minus 114 pixels. The number which is necessary to for the p to match the div of the containing block containing div. Okay, so equation will be like this. So it's 10 pixels, 2 pixels, 0. This is our width 400 pixels that we gave. 0 padding, 2 pixels border, and then minus 114 pixels. Total comes to 300 pixels. Okay, that's all I wanted to share with you guys. I'm just doing it for myself as an exercise, just going through basics, but uh, if it's beneficial for somebody, if somebody can benefit from this, it's great. So again, thank you for watching.